Reproduction in fungi. The fungi reproduce by means of asexual, sexual or parasexual methods. Asexual reproduction is sometimes called somatic or vegetative, and it does not involve any union of nuclei or sex cells or sex organs. The union of two nuclei characterizes sexual reproduction. The parasexual cycle is a non-sexual mechanism of parasexuality for transferring genetic material without meiosis or the development of sexual structures. In this video, let us try to discuss the various methods of reproduction found in fungi. So the various methods of reproduction in fungi discussed in this video are vegetative methods like fragmentation of the mycelium, fission of the unicellular thalli and budding. Under asexual methods of reproduction, that is asexual spore formation, formation of Sporangiospores, zoospores, Conidiospores, Chlamydospores and Oidia formation. The sexual methods of reproduction like Planogametic Copulation, Gametangial Contact, Gametangial Copulation, Spermatization and Somatogamy. Fragmentation of the mycelium. The mycelial fragments from any part of the thallus may grow into new individuals when the suitable conditions are provided. Fission of unicellular thalli. Fission is simple splitting of the cells into two daughter cells by the construction and the formation of a cell wall. It is observed in yeast. Budding is the production of small outgrowth, that is the bud from the parent cell. As the bud is formed, the nucleus of the parent cell divides and one daughter nucleus migrates into the bud. The bud increases in size while still attached to the parent cell and eventually breaks off and forms a new individual, and it is common in yeasts. The Sporangiospores. These spores are formed in globose or sac-like structure called sporangium. The Sporangiospores may be motile, that is zoospores, or non-motile spores, that is Planospores. In simpler fungi, Sporangiospores are usually motile and are called zoospores, that is with flagella. Both zoospores and aplanospores are endogenous spores. Conidiospores. The conidiospores or conidia are borne on special spore-bearing hyphae, that is conidiophores. The conidia may be borne singly or in chains or in clusters. They vary from unicellular, that is qualitotrichum, bicellular fusarium and multicellular as in case of Cercospora. One-celled spores are called Meiospores. Two-celled spores are called as Didymospores and multicellular spores are called as Phragmospores. In Alternaria, conidia are with both transverse and longitudinal septa and are called Dictyospores. Chlamydospores is a thick-walled thallic conidium that generally functions as the resting spore. Terminal or intercalary segments or mycelium may become packed with food reserves and develop thick walls. The walls may be colorless or pigmented with a dark melanin pigment. When chlamydospores are found in between fungal cells, they are called intercalary chlamydospores. Chlamydospores produced at the apex of the hyphae are called as apical or terminal chlamydospores. Oidia or Thallospores or arthrospores. The hypha divide and develop into spores called oidia, as in case of Aries hyphae. Sexual reproduction in fungi. The sexual reproduction in fungi involves union of two compatible nuclei. The nuclei may be carried in motile or non-motile gametes, in gametangia, or in somatic cells of the thallus. There are three typical phases which occur in sequence during sexual reproduction, and they are plasmogamy, karyogamy, and meiosis. The various methods of sexual reproduction are Planogametic Copulation, Gametangial Contact, Gametangial Copulation, Spermatization, and Somatogamy. Plasmogamy. In plasmogamy, anastomosis of the two cells or gametes and fusion of their protoplasm takes place. In the process, the two haploid nuclei of the opposite sex that is the compatible nuclei are brought together, but the nuclei will not fuse. In karyogamy, the fusion of the two haploid nuclei are brought together as a result of plasmogamy. In meiosis, it reduces the number of chromosomes to haploid. During karyogamy, this stage follows immediately after the plasmogamy. In many of the lower fungi or may be delayed in higher fungi. In higher fungi, plasmogamy results in binucleate cell containing one nucleus from each cell. Such a pair of nuclei is called dikaryon. These two nuclei may not fuse until later in the life history of the fungus. During the growth and cell division of the binucleate cell, the dikaryotic condition may be perpetuated from cell to cell by conjugate division of the two closely associated nuclei and by the separation of the two resulting sister nuclei with the two daughter cells. Methods of sexual reproduction. The following are the 5 methods which the fungi employ to bring the compatible nuclei together for fusion. Planogametic copulation, gametangial contact, gametangial copulation, spermatization, and somatogamy. Planogametic copulation. A planogamete is a small gamete or a sex cell. The fusion of two gametes, one or both of which are motile, is called planogametic copulation. This type of sexual reproduction is common in aquatic fungi. Various types of planogametic copulation are: number 1, copulation of isogamous motile gametes. In this type, morphologically similar but compatible type of mating types of gametes unite to form a motile zygote. In the second case, that is the copulation in anisogamous motile gametes, it involves union of one larger gamete with another smaller gamete. The resultant zygote is motile. The zygote resulting from the isogamous or anisogamous planogametic copulation forms a resting sporangium. On further development, it functions as the sporangium by differentiating the zoospores internally. The third one is heterogamous planogametic copulation. Here, non-motile female gamete, that is oosphere, is fertilized by a non-motile male gamete. This results in the formation of oospores, a resistant structure and resting spore. The oospore germinates and produces the mycelium directly. In gametangial contact, in this method, the male gamete, that is the antheridium, and the female gamete, that is oogonium, come in contact, and one or more nuclei from the male gamete enter the female gamete. Oogonium is dissolved in the intervening wall through a pore or through a fertilization tube. In no case the gametangia fuse or lose their identity during the sexual act. During gametangial copulation, the two morphologically similar gametangial hyphae come in contact. The wall at the point of contact dissolves and the contents mix in the cell and thus formed. This results in the formation of a zygospore, and this we can see in Buccal, Rhizopus, Phycomycetes, etc. Then spermatization. In some fungi like rust fungi bear numerous minute non-motile uninucleate male cells called spermatia, and these structures are produced in spiral receptacles called spermagonia or pycnidia. Insects, wind or water carries these spermatia to the female gametangium, which is usually a special receptive hypha or a trichogyne to which they become attached. A pore develops at the point of contact and the contents of the spermatium enter into the respective hyphae. This results in the plasmogamy and the initiation of a dikaryotic stage. Somatogamy. In somatogamy, no sex organs are produced and somatic cells function as gametes. The hyphae, anastomos, and the nuclei of the opposite mating type are brought together in one cell. Somatogamy is common in Ascomycotina and Basidiomycotina. Now, what are clamp connections? Actually, it is a bridge-like hyphal connection characteristic of the secondary mycelium in many Basidiomycetes. It ensures that the sister nuclei arising from the conjugate division of the dikaryon become separated into two daughter cells. The clamp connections are found during the nuclear division and supposed to help in dikaryoticization of the adjacent cells. A clamp connection is actually a hook-like structure formed by the growing hyphal cell. Certain fungi. It is created to ensure each cell or a segment of the hyphae separated by septa receives a set of differing nuclei which are obtained through mating of the hyphae of different sexual types.